out here in my own front yard today and planting a small Montmorency cherry tree. It's a dwarf variety, maybe 10 feet tall, something like that. My wife and I have wanted to add a cherry on our property, and so we went out to Squaw Mountain Nursery and picked up this nice little tree. And one of the things I've found really helpful is root washing and root pruning. When trees are grown in pots for an extended period of time, the roots tend to swirl and build up around the outer edge. And if we just go ahead and plant that, all we're going to do is perpetuate that shape, that negative root structure. And so what's really effective, and we've done on other trees, is take it out of the pot, remove all the soil, wash it off, see what the root structure is, and then do some pruning. Eliminate some of that non-constructive growth. Take out girdling roots, anything that's crossing and damaged, and then plant it with the roots arrayed in a productive radial kind of fashion. So anyway, let's dump this out. Let's see what it looks like. This one hasn't been in the pot very long, so I don't know if we're going to see a lot of negative root growth, but let's see what it looks like. Come on in a little closer. All right, so cherry trees and most fruit trees are grafted, which means they've taken a rootstock, well, I guess that's rootstock, and they've added a tree on top of it. And this is the location of the graft. So you'll see this on almost every fruit tree. So underneath, see that our roots are kind of in this big mess right now. So what we want to do is, I'm going to get the hose out, we'll move this dirt, and let's wash this off and see what it looks like. We've got our hose turned on now. As with any good garden hose, it gets me wet at the same time. So I'm going to spray this off, and let's see what these roots look like. So about 10 minutes and some very wet pants later, we have our root mass. We've taken the soil off. We've gotten out any types of sleeves or packaging that had been used when this was first started. Found a little bit of biodegradable fabric in there, pulled that out. And we can really see what the root mass looks like on this tree. Again, this is probably 4 or 5 feet tall right now. Yeah, 4 feet or so. And that's the entirety of the root mass. And so this was probably bare root until a couple of months ago, and then was put into some growing medium at the nursery, and then recently put into our pot over here. So it's not root bound at all. Really, there's not a lot this needs, but what I've been able to do is by cleaning it off, I can understand what the condition of the roots are, and then I can plant it knowing that I've planted a tree that has a positive root structure, rather than something that is unknown, rather than something that I don't know the condition of. There's one little piece I'm going to clip off in here. If you want to come in a little closer to see this. The one thing I saw is there's a root here that's damaged a little bit on the end, and it crosses somewhat strangely over this other better structured root. So I'm just going to take a hand pruners. I'm going to clip that out. Careful not to damage anything else. Put that in our compost bin, and it's ready to go into the ground. So here we are over at our planting location. I've already dug the hole. We've got a nice mulch layer here in the garden. I moved that aside, dug the dirt out, got that piled up here on a tarp. It's a nice way that I don't have to clean it all out of the grass later. What I found as I was digging is about 3 or 4 inches down, I kind of ran into a harder, more mineral-based layer of soil. I dug down through that, mixed that up well, so that what goes back in has a nice even consistency. There isn't a hard pan underneath. And you'll notice that the hole is quite a bit larger than what I need for the roots. What I shot for was about 1.5 times. If you have really poor sight, you might go 2 or 3 times larger. That gives room for the roots to grow and not run into a wall of poor soil left from where that excavation was done. So anyhow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the orientation of how I want this tree to face. And then we're going to backfill it and gradually work the soil in, compacting it gently with my hands. And what I want to do is I want to have this tree planted so that the natural soil level is even with how the tree has been grown. And when in doubt, I may grow it or plant it just a little bit high. I want to make sure that it's not planted low so that we're choking the trunk. That could lead to decay and reduce the longevity of the tree. So we're going to get this planted. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, so our Montmorency is in the ground. We'll be looking forward to cherries a few years from now. So a couple of things we've done. We backfilled, gently shaking the soil off the shovel rather than dumping it in big clods. Got about halfway up, and I watered it in really well, and then I added some more soil, watered it in again, and I've now installed a layer of mulch. It's 3 to 4 inches thick, and you'll notice I've left space to the trunk of the tree. So the soil is at the proper height, right at the root crown or root flare where the tree had been grown. But then the mulch is higher, and you'll notice I've left it again away from the trunk, because if that mulch is against the bark, that can encourage bacteria, fungal growth, those kinds of things, and impact the health of your tree. So we got it upright, we oriented it the way we wanted, we've got it in the ground and watered well, mulch on top, and we watered it again. If you put dry soil on top of wet soil, dry mulch on top of wet soil, it will suck moisture out of that soil. So we want to make sure everything was watered in really well. So with that, we know we have a tree with good root structure. It's in the right place. And what's really interesting is it's stable. This tree does not need to be staked. Perhaps if you were out along the street or in an area that had a lot of wind funneling, but in most applications, a tree well planted does not need to be staked. It'll stand up just fine on its own. So we've got a great little cherry in a few years. Be looking forward to making some cherry pies and cherry cobbler and all kinds of things. So anyhow, hope this is helpful. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather.